Okay, BookTube, it's Lori and I'm back here at Books, Ink, and Paper, and I've really struggled today with filming, so I'm gonna try take 3 and see if that works better. I'm in the library today where the lighting may or may not be too yellow. You know, I'm in the process of selling this house and moving to another house, and that other house is gonna have an incredibly lit library area, but this one may be a little yellow, so if that's true, I apologize. I wanted to come back and tell you today about my March reading plans and how that went, how I did in the month of March. I had a March TBR or reading plan video, and this is a wrap up of that. So I'm going to give you a report on what I read in March and what I thought of it. So I had set out to read 6 books in March. 2 of those books were already on my currently reading shelf on Goodreads, and so I was partially already through those, and we'll talk about an approximate page count at the end because I didn't really look at where I was when I started the page count. However, there were 2 that were partially started, and then the rest of them I started from start to finish. So I finished all 6, and I just finished the last one late last night. So just under the wire. But 6 books for me is good. It's not too many, and it's not too few that I feel bad about myself. So let's take a look at what I read in March. So the first book I read in March was Little Darlings by Melanie Golding. I don't have a copy of it anymore because I lent it to my daughter who read it, and then I think she might be about to give it to somebody else to read as well. But Little Darlings is an advanced reader's copy that I got, but it comes out on April 15th, and I got it from Bookish First in exchange for a review. Now, I did an in-depth review on this book on another video, so I won't go into complete detail, but basically this book follows a young mom named Lauren who gives birth to twins under a bit of a challenging birth. I mean, not a terribly traumatic birth, but feeling kind of disconnected from reality while she's giving birth to those twins. And then she starts to believe that there's a woman who has a sinister plot to replace her twins with Lauren's, and it's a bit fantastical. It's more than a bit fantastical, magical realism, fairy tale aspect to this story, lots of thriller kinds of things going on as well, and you're kind of through most of the book trying to figure out if this is really happening or if she's just sleep deprived and a little bit mad. It's neat, and I liked it, and I gave it 4 stars. The next book I began in March was Echo by Pam Munoz Ryan. March was middle grade March, so you were to read if you wanted to, if you chose to read a middle grade novel or more, and I chose Echo because I had heard about it from several different folks, including I think Anne Bogle interviewed somebody who had read it or she had read it, and on what should I read next on the podcast, what should I read next? And so I heard about it. I heard that you should listen to it on audio. It had a musical appeal to it as well as a nice story. And so I did listen to it, and it was lovely. It follows an initial story that is a bit of a fairy tale as well, and then goes into the lives of 3 different young people in different parts of the world or the United States, and just rich, detailed, compelling accounts of what was happening to them, and it went from each of them, and then in the end it pulled it all together into a thread that was really meaningful and magical and a great story. I highly recommend Echo. I gave it 5 stars. Then I picked up Once Upon a River by Diane Setterfield. I have been a fan of Diane Setterfield's for a long time. I've marked a quote from my book journal. So I first read The 13th Tale and loved it, and so I wanted to take a look at this, and this was gifted to me on Valentine's Day. I savored this one. It took me a bit to read it. It was a great story. There were parts of it that were a little bit slower than other parts, but they were definitely purposeful. Lots of characters, sometimes hard to keep track of them all for me, but all of the stories revolve around the river, where a man comes into a pub nearby the river with a child who is dead, and they start to treat the man's injuries, and then the child comes back to life. And the question is, how did that happen, and who does the child belong to? And so there's a lot about family, there's a lot about love and commitment and connection to family and to people who are not your blood family. It's really, really fun to read, and I enjoyed it a lot, and I gave it 5 stars. I Will Not Die an Unlived Life by Donna Markova was another book that I had partially started. Well, this was one of the books I had partially started. I was about halfway through, and this is a memoir. I've gone into a bit more detail in another video, so I won't go into a lot of it, but let's just say I was very satisfied by it. A lot of self-reflection opportunity in this, but also some story about our past, about what makes us happy and not so happy, and comfortable and not so comfortable, and what we want to do about some of those things, and what we want to hold on to and what we want to let go of, and just nice, neat stuff. If you like memoir, and if you like a little bit of self-help, I think you'll really love this book. I think I also gave it 5 stars. You Are a Badass at Making Money by Jen Sincero. I was about a third of the way into this when I began the month, and I just was determined to finish it. I actually listened to much of the last bits of it on audio. I probably wouldn't have finished it if I hadn't started it on audio while I was driving to appointments and things. It was pretty repetitive. Maybe in her mind it was intentional to sort of cement those concepts in your mind, but those are concepts that I'm already familiar with, so it began to be a little bit sort of unnecessary for me, for her to keep sort of repeating herself. It's really about belief and mindset, about thoughts. Thoughts become things, law of attraction, power of positivity, setting intentions, those kinds of concepts. But some good exercises, but a lot of stuff was just really repeated a lot. And she also goes into how it's important to hire a coach, which obviously as a coach I believe in, but clearly her coach was a consultant more than the way that I coach. So she says, you have to hire a business coach. I did everything my business coach told me to do. And typically if you're coaching, you're trying to help them find the answers of what they should do on their own. But maybe the way she put it is a little bit different than what it actually was like. But it definitely had a different relationship with coaching than I typically have with my clients. So I gave it 3 stars. And then finally, last night, I finished Magpie Murders by Anthony Horowitz. This is a novel within a novel, which is fun. There's a lot of things about this book that are fun. I really loved this. I was surprised by it. So it starts out by introducing you to the editor of an author named Alan Conway, who's written another novel called Magpie Murders, and she sets out to read that novel and to begin the editing process, and then soon discovers that there's been a death. And the question, at first, there is no real question about it. It appears to have been a suicide, and there's a note. And then upon further investigation on her part, there's a lot more going on. But the first part of the book is that novel. And then the second part of the book is her trying to figure out what's going on. What I loved about it is a complete and total homage to the genre of mystery. And in particular, Agatha Christie is featured prominently in this novel, as well as Conan Doyle and Ian McEwan and a few other authors as well. I mean, actually, he mentions a lot of writers in this book. He mentions Sophie Hannah, who actually wrote some Agatha Christie mysteries for the estate, as well as some mysteries of her own. He mentions a lot about Agatha Christie. In fact, here's what I loved about it too. There's a lot of puzzle in it. There are some neat things that are clues that aren't typical in some mysteries. There are so many things that connect you back to Agatha Christie. Like one of the chapters is called After the Funeral, which is a novel that Agatha Christie wrote. It's one of my favorites. He almost constantly talks about Midsomer Murders, which ironically Anthony Horowitz is a screenwriter for Midsomer Murders, as well as Foyle's War and a couple other mystery series as well. He talks about Mystery 2 adaptation. He talks about, the novel talks about the selling out that some people sense when people write mysteries that are somewhat formulaic and have the same kinds of elements. He talks about tropes. He talks about, if you love mysteries, I can't imagine that you wouldn't love this book, because it's not just a story within a story within a story, but it's also just an examination of that genre in a way that it pokes a bit of fun at it. And it's also very predictable and yet somewhat unpredictable. So I gave it 5 stars. I listened to this. I had dance a couple of weekends this month, so that helped me. I had to drive 2 hours to and from a couple of times, so I got to listen to it a lot in the car as well as to read it. So that made it a lot faster, and I highly recommend this. I gave it 5 stars. So the underlying theme of all of the books that I read this month was story, with the exception of You Are a Badass at Making Money. Every other book that I read really talked about, and I guess You're a Badass too, a little bit about the story that you tell yourself about your relationship to money. But all of them included story about self, story about others, story about genre, story about authors, just a neat month of storytelling. And honestly, that's one of the things I love the most about reading, is that it's a story that takes me somewhere else. Even if it's Donna Markova's memoir, it took me to that cabin. It took me to her childhood with her grandmother. It took me to where she was when she took her son to boarding school and what she did later. I really enjoyed the quality of story that I read and listened to this month. And so if I were to say anything about all of these books, it was that for the most part, with the exception of one, I was really transported into a place that was fantastic. And that made me so happy. So thinking about where I was when I picked up 2 of those books again that I had been reading, I'm guessing that I read about 2,130 pages in the month of March. 2 of these books were nonfiction. The other 4 were fiction. One is an advanced reader's copy that will come out again on April 15th. I had mostly 5-star reads, with the exception of 1 4-star and 1 3-star read. And I can't wait to talk about these books with you if you decide to read them as well. Or if you have read them, let me know what you think. I know at least one of you who occasionally watches my videos did not love Magpie Murders, but I really did like it a lot. But I'm a big Agatha Christie fan, and there was just so much in that book that related to Agatha Christie and to her way of writing and just to her body of work that I'm not sure that I could help but love that book. It was also just delivered in such a unique way, which is actually true of most of the books I read this month. They were really delivered in a unique way, a unique story, in a unique way of telling it. I can't recommend that you take a look at some of these enough. And as always, I hope you have a very, very happy reading day. Thanks for joining me. Subscribe if you haven't. Click the bell to get a reminder when new videos are out, and stay tuned for my April TBR. Today's the first day of BookList Readathon, so I have begun a book today. Take a look at that video too if you'd like. I'm going to try to read 5 books in 1 week. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm going to give it a go. Okay, have a great day. Happy reading. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye, BookTube.